Hi everybody, welcome to Breakthrough Science. Benjamin here. It's a great pleasure to talk today to Mark Ditzler. He's a scientist at NASA Ames Research Center and working on origin of life theories and new discoveries around it. So, Mark, hi, and thanks a lot for being here. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
Hey, my pleasure.
Let's directly dive into the origin of life, because many of my listeners and watchers are really interested in what you think about it. So, can you explain in easy words, because that's important for non-biologists, how did life on Earth emerge? And how would you answer this question for someone, as said, who is not from the field?
Right. Well, I mean, that's something I'd like to find out, get a better handle. I can't say it, I wouldn't say at this point that I have a really clear answer for how life emerged, but in studying it, I suppose there are a few points I would make. We know from looking at modern biology there are a lot of features that are shared by everything. So there are certain, or maybe even not, but certain features that everything that has in common, and so that gives us a clue as to what maybe some of the earliest forms of life looked like. Since it looks like everything that's alive today descended from a common ancestor. So I would start by sort of explaining to them that we can look at modern biology and do extrapolate backwards and in time and get some sense of what very early life looked like from what we know about biology. And I would say that we can also look at chemistry and geology and what we know about the early Earth, and get a sense of what kind of molecules can be generated without biology. And what's very interesting is a lot of the small molecules that biology uses are fairly easy to make in a non-biological process. So while I don't have a clear answer for how life started, I would sort of point out that there's a lot of information we can go on, and there actually is some hope of getting there.
So, in your personal opinion, where did life on Earth start? Was it more on a pond next to a volcano, or was it in a hydrothermal vent, or did it come from another planet via meteorite? So what's your opinion about that?
Well, I've heard a lot of compelling arguments for many different environments, and I wouldn't rule any of them out, but I find that I kind of lean towards a terrestrial environment that is periodically dried out. So there are a lot of advantages to having an environment where you have alternating wet and dry periods. And one of the reasons for that is that can actually be a very useful way to take some of the smaller molecules that biology uses. And so what biology does really well, and what might actually be essential to biology, is that it takes small pieces, small repeating building blocks basically, and links them together to make much bigger, more complicated molecules. So you take amino acids, which are very small organic molecules, and you link them together and you form a protein. You take nucleotides, which are also very small organic molecules, you link them together and you make nucleic acids like DNA and RNA. Okay, so there are processes that can convert small molecules into big molecules that are helped out a lot by drying samples out. I like it because it sort of gets life started up on the surface where there's a tremendous amount of energy available from the sun, which most of the energy that life uses on Earth comes from the sun, and so there's a tremendous amount of energy available there. You have this drying down that helps to make larger molecules that are useful for life. And so there are some other features as well, but those are sort of the key features that make it sort of appealing. But whenever I design an experiment in the lab, if I can make it so that it is applicable to several environments, I try to do that, right? Yeah. So I try to be open to where different environments, but that I think is my favorite, is on land with a little bit of water.
How is your research related to all these questions about where did life start? And I just read through your CV, so what are the RNA world theories.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so as you know, a lot of my research is focused on ribonucleic acids. And ribonucleic acids, or RNA, it's one of the main molecules of life. Everything has RNA, everything has DNA, everything has proteins. There's sort of three macromolecules or polymers that all cellular life has. And there's some thinking that RNA played a larger role in early life than it does now, and some even have gone so far as to propose that RNA was doing what proteins and DNA and RNA do in modern biology. So in modern biology, you have DNA in your cells, or either in your cells or in bacterial cells or whatever form of life it is, that stores information and allows information to be passed from one generation to the next. And then you have proteins, and those carry out almost every chemical reaction that happens in the cell. So they're doing all the work of the cell, and they're also providing structures and doing lots of other things for biology. And they're very active. And RNA in modern biology, in a lot of ways, sort of acts as to connect these two molecules. My research doesn't really involve a whole lot of the thinking about how the very small molecules like carbon dioxide or ammonia, really small molecules get together to make the building blocks of life. But my research is more focused on, once you take those building blocks and you start to link them together, what can they do?
Yes. So
that's step. It's not the very first step in the sort of prebiotic chemistry. Yeah. It's like step number 2.
It's right? Like an intermediate to come to the final product.
Just like you said, it's very interdisciplinary. So we've got the organic chemists that I talk with frequently, and they're working on how do you get to these building blocks, and then I'm working on, well, once you have these building blocks, how do you link them together and make them do something useful? And then other folks, sort of can be more focused on, well, once you have these building blocks linked together and doing something useful, how can we bring them together into a cell?
Amazing. Seb, what was for you the best moment in the search for the origin of life, or in your search in the RNA world theories? So what was like the most intriguing publication, or the thing which really, changed your way of thinking?
The very first thing that got me interested in the origin of life was when I was a freshman. So I was a freshman taking a freshman biology class, and we were assigned a paper. And it's funny, I keep meaning to go back and look and see if I could figure out which paper it was and who it was. But I was a freshman, I didn't understand, anything about science or whatever. I mean, I knew a little bit, but I wasn't really paying attention to like who wrote this paper or whatever. Yeah. But we got handed this paper that had to do with the origin of life, and it had to do with something that may not actually be relevant to the origin of life. It was little proteinaceous microspheres. It might have been about coastrophates. I honestly only halfway understood the paper, but what it did was it made me realize that you can actually do experiments that would help you learn something potentially about the origin of life, because this person had done something with short peptides and gotten them sort of clumped together and have interesting properties, and that was the first thing that made me think, oh, okay, the origin of life is not just something that you have to wonder about. You could actually do some experiments.
Could explore it.
Yeah, and I wish I knew who it was or
maybe
you
understood. Know him now.
Yeah, I may know this person now, right? But it's funny because it was sort of like, and I honestly, only sort of halfway understood what I was reading, but it gave me the idea that you could do this.
With all that, Mark, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Was it great to have you here, or it's great to come here? And thanks all of you for watching again.
Yes, thank you.
This video. So see you next time.